Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Aggressively Average, and Frost here, I think, is going to be leading us today.
It's gonna be the blind leading the blind. Um, it's if you're familiar with Shrek, you know the three blind mice. It's gonna be that pretty much.
You, the audience, are the third blind mice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So before we start, I have a question for you.
Fire.
This might just be a general question. Do you think your vocabulary has gotten worse or better since starting Warhammer?
I think that I have more words, but I think they're unintelligible to anybody who doesn't play.
That is kind of how I feel, but I actually wonder if my pronunciation has gotten better because when you have really, really weird words like, I don't know, like retrieve Octarius data
Um, the thing is like
or Knockman.
it's British English, so like it's how do I say this? I don't want to be mean in the first minute. So it's it's a dialect that I personally don't consider useful as a American. I'm not
You
going to be
know,
able to go to a job interview and be like, "Ah, yes, in the Knockman zone." Like,
in the Pariah Nexus in
ah,
the
you see,
40,000th
I
millennium.
think the pariah of this issue, like, bro, if I said that in a meeting, I would. It doesn't go well. So
The thing is, you have to talk like that all the time. You can't just throw it up,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
throw
yeah.
it out
Like
there
it's character
randomly.
defining. You're either British or
Yeah,
you're normal.
yeah. Anyways, so um we're that is not the topic of conversation for today. The topic of conversation revolves around secondary missions. And I don't know if you would call it general changes, to the mission or just a mission pack change in
I
general.
would kind of call
Um
what you've cooked up like just an entire new like mission. Like you know how we went from Leviathan to Pariah? I
yes.
would say that this is kind of close to that.
Yeah, I haven't come up with any of the primary stuff because I think like that is going to require a lot more thinking and free time that I don't really have at the moment. But
So this
the
is
mo-
part one of a
part
two-part
one of two,
series.
maybe, yeah. If you like it.
Like
So
and subscribe.
yeah, like and subscribe if you want to hear more about our fantasy changes we'd like to make that actually would probably make the game more fair. So I'll start off by painting a picture. You are playing in a tournament. It's round 3 of a GT, okay? Last game of the day. And you're pulling up and you're going you're playing Votan, right? You would say your army is a rather elite army,
Yeah,
okay?
all in all.
And you're going up against this guy who's like, "Okay, I'm going to stat check flood the board with bodies." Right? Like let's say you're playing Endless Swarm Nids or
Mm-hmm.
something similar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's Purge the Foe and you're going second. Like as in Smug is going second.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not saying it's game set match, but if they draw dead, right? So this person in this made up scenario, the tiered player has to because they're never going to score kill more,
Never.
right?
Never.
They have to basically to match your scoring for kill more, they're going to have to take the center objective
Mm-hmm.
and just control more objectives, which in theory should actually kind of be possible, but at what cost? And that's kind of the whole thing that I'm getting into. If their secondary draws are bad and they get like overwhelming force and you can't get behind enemy lines. What's another really bad secondary draw
Marks
first
for
turn?
death.
Overwhelming force.
Assassinate.
Oh, march for death, assassinate, no prisoners.
Overwhelming
Um,
force.
yeah, and let's say they draw overwhelming force and mark for death. That's like a dead draw, and then you draw for your like on your second turn. It's like, oh, extend battle lines. and
Sabotage, containment,
sabotage or something, right?
like yeah,
Something that's very easily done.
or secure no
And
man's land, which you were gonna do
oh
anyway.
god, yeah. And these now all of a sudden this game has started off and you are automatically at like a 7 point advantage, especially if they have to come out
Mm-hmm.
and take points to
Mm-hmm.
actually start scoring, like score more than or score like just to keep up with scoring because they're never going to score kill more.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to get kill in the first turn. You're not going to get kill more because that's gone. And now potentially if you draw dead, you are now up by like 10 to 11 points
Mm-hmm.
going into battle round 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that game, and I'm not saying it's over because that's not certainly not the case because a lot of mistakes can happen in a
Dice or
match,
dice, yada
dice
yada.
or dice or whatever. But when it kicks to your turn, right, or your turn 2,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna stick out like your Sagittar, whatever, on that central object or your natural expansion,
Mm-hmm.
clear the second or the clear no man's land, and then you're just almost gonna sit there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I'm trying to get at. The game, as of right now, I don't really believe rewards interacting with your opponent. And if you draw dead one turn and like on turn 1 and you're going first, you now have to do some wild plays or some risky plays to now get ahead and score. Because the whole theory is that, and this is why like primary scored at the end for the second player, is the second player's secondary can be easier scored because the first player's already gone, so and they don't know what you have yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's, like assassinate or marked for death or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
if they stick out a character, they don't know you have assassinate, and then you can go kill that character. And so then in theory, you should be behind on the secondary or on the primary scoring
Mm-hmm.
because you are going second and they can position their people first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the data, that's just not the case. And I think this is probably something we all know when you just play a lot. Depending on the mission type, um, the variation between like going first and second is like 20%, or
Mm-hmm.
like win rate is like 20%. And that to me doesn't seem that
Fair.
balanced or
Yeah.
fair.
It's that's kind of a part of the like generic like one person gets their entire turn, then the other person gets their entire turn. Cause I remember back in eighth, whatchamacalls it? It was just whoever went first pretty much won.
Yeah, you had the really bad alpha strikes.
Uh-huh.
It was certainly an interesting addition in eighth. But the point I'm trying to get at, and going back to the secondaries, and we talked about how it doesn't really favor interacting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel that there is so many times, and I don't know if this is how you feel when you're playing, that the correct answer, not the fun answer, but the correct answer to win the match, right? Because that is the goal,
Mm-hmm.
is almost do nothing or not move.
Mm-hmm.
And
Make them come to you.
yeah, and it kind of sucks because I mean I know that. So you recently bought the God, what are they? The Jaegers
Oh yeah.
infiltrating Votan.
Oh yeah.
See, you buy them because they're what 90 points.
They're 90 points. I can make them AP4. Rah! Like, they're just, yeah. They're infiltrate, which makes it so that way my bikes can go out and then push, and then the rest of my army can just sit in the zone that they pushed out to.
And if you draw something like area denial turn 1, you're gonna throw your 90-point unit on the center objective, and you're like, I don't care if they die.
Yeah, usually I don't even get that far. Usually I just full send throw them to try and move block. Like, if I get area denial, great. But yeah, it's just like I think I get what you're saying with like the secondaries are boring and they don't force you to act with the other person. I also think that the kind of secondary we're in right now where it's hey, just like, you know, do an action in this like very vague section of the board. I think I think that's an improvement from Leviathan, but I still think
Oh,
it needs more work.
Well, you didn't like you did not like your like playing against a biovore dropping a spore mine in your deployment zone and getting what is it, engage and
Brother, I took 3 units
deploy
of
Homer or
rippers.
whatever.
I took 3 unit of rippers, and nobody denied me secondary once. Like it was
Yeah, that was
so,
a
it was bad. It was stupid.
I mean, I
Um,
would like OC0 things to like have a part. I mean, they do like they can score you,
they can score like,
engage on all fronts
yeah.
and stuff like area denial, but I
Hmm.
don't think they should score, establish home or whatever. But anyways, that's a topic for another conversation.
Yep.
Um, but it's not even that I think they're boring. It's just that when you go to ninth edition, and it was you had your select 3 secondaries that you picked, right? And
Hmm.
your opponent knew what they were. And I'm not saying this is the solution either. Um, it was basically you had 3 things you had to do, and that's how you scored. And your opponent knew what you had to do to score, and then you kind of played your own games that were kind of separate because you're like, I know I have to do this to score my points. My opponent has to do this to score their points. How do I counter them? Because you kind of know what's going on.
Hmm.
And the current setup, I actually think, is better with the cards, right?
Hmm.
Being able to be like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, because it kind of gets this weirdo game. If you have objectives like you said, like you had 3 rippers, you could take fixed and be like, every single time I'm going to have like behind enemy lines
Hmm.
and something. And if you don't literally have every square inch of your board, like of your deployment zone
Yeah.
screened, I'm gonna put my little 25 millimeter spore mine,
Suddenly you're
and
playing against Grey Knight's Light.
yeah, pretty much. And so I don't think that's the solution, but I think there's a lot of missions that, or not even a lot of missions. I think the current 10th edition, just going back to it, there's almost times like you don't even want to take objective. Like you don't even want to take your opponent's home field
No.
objective, like their natural expansion. Like it's better to contest it rather than take it
Hmm.
in case they draw something like storm hostile or
Hmm.
overwhelming force.
Hmm.
Well, overwhelming force is whatever, but if they draw things like storm hostile, because it's like, oh, you don't actually own it from me, so I can't even score it this turn, and then it's just another dead draw.
Hmm.
And that's a whole like
Another
theory, like
problem.
that's not even really a problem. That's like a whole like strategy thing. But
Hmm.
anyways, so when you look at primary scoring, I think in general it's too high across the board.
So is your statement is primary scoring is too primary?
No, I think it's too easy to get maxed,
Okay.
like close to max primary.
Okay.
And the reason why and the reason why I say that is for every single mission, and I went through this to make sure that I wasn't just talking out of my ass. But every single mission except Purge the Foe, which we've already talked about, and I will come back to it and talk about that one specifically, and Linchpin, you can score 40 plus points if you only touch 2 objectives the entire game,
That's
like
bad.
on primary.
Uh, okay, hold on. Like, you actually did the math, and like
I did
every
the math. You
single
can Every single mission you can score 40 or more points on primary, only touching your home field and your natural expansion for the entire game.
that I I've played so many games, and that has never clicked. That is really bad, actually.
So Scorched Earth, right? This is the worst
Oh yeah,
defender.
I knew Scorched Earth was bad.
Oh, I have some opinions on Scorched
Yeah,
Earth.
no, Scorched Earth should not exist in the way that it does.
If you just hold your home field and your natural expansion and then burn your natural expansion at the end of the game, you will score 45 out of 50 primary.
Hmm.
So there's
And
that.
if you just hold the middle
Take
once, you max it.
Yep, if you just hold it once, you max it. If you out of 4 rounds, you got 4 opportunities. So if you go second,
You're
you
guaranteed.
can you actually can't. Well, if you go second, you just burn it. Is the thing
Yeah,
you
but then you
burn?
can just take the middle.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. You burn it like in turn 4, and then you take the middle at the end of turn 5, and then burn it
Mm-hmm.
if you go second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like super easy to max it.
Mm-hmm. One thing that
So,
Scorched Earth did do right is you get more points if you burn your opponent's home field.
but how often does that happen?
It has happened in every single time I've played Scorched Earth.
Really?
Every single time. Dude, I did a push up the middle through Nids, and I got it. And then he burnt my home field by deep striking behind me and then charging my home and taking it from me.
Now that's see that like I will say it's happened to me once, and that is the exact same situations. Like I took and burned his, he took and burned mine.
Yeah.
So it kind of like cancels out. But think of it, take and hold, you score 10 for holding two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things like terraform. Now you have to do an action on your natural expansion, but if you have a lone op and you screen out properly, that's basically impossible to stop.
Mm-hmm.
If you do your action on the objective, you'll get 6 for that, and then you're like because you score 4 for holding it, and then you're scoring 4 for holding your home,
Mm-hmm.
and then plus 2 for the terraform.
Mm-hmm.
After 4 rounds is 40 because it's 6 plus 4. Burden of Trust. This one sucks because I actually really like the mission, but I don't like that you can defend your home objective, and I don't like that the player who goes first like will automatically score 2 points more.
Yeah.
Not that 2 points is the end of the world, but it's just dumb that you literally cannot have the same opportunities to score.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't score points for holding your primary, but you only score 4 for holding every part in the middle, and that sounds good, but you can defend your home objective for 2 every turn.
Mm-hmm.
You hold your natural expansion for 4, defend it for 2, you got 10 from that. No, sorry, what is it?
So you're essentially getting.
No, I'm sorry, it's only 8. Sorry, I completely lied.
You're getting
Bird
8
of Trust is only
primary
8.
every turn just from your natural expansion, when it should be like a max of 6.
Yeah, what is the I actually have to hold on. Let me grab my this is gonna be a cut in the video, but let me grab my cards because I might have said that wrong because it might be more. It might be 9. Double check Bird of Trust and it's only 8. It's actually better. It's one of the missions that I actually really like. Funny enough, I love Burden of Trust, but I don't like that it's not equal scoring, but you can only score 8 for holding your natural plus your expansion. So but if you look at all the other ones, so Take and Hold, Scorched Earth, Terraform, and then Purge the Foe again is a little different. Like all of those, you can score 40 or more. And then the only 2 missions that you can't score 40 or more is going to be Linchpin and Burden of Trust, which is 32 if you just touch your 2 objectives. And I think those are easily the best 2 missions in the pack. I don't know how you feel about it.
I kind of agree, actually, because like I don't like Burden of Trust. I think Burden of Trust is boring as a primary. I think it's a lot more interactive with the other missions, but I think balance wise it's the most like consistently balanced. Like Scorched Earth is feast or famine only. There is no balance. It's just get good secondaries. But Linchpin and Burden are both like you feel more like a general than you do like you're playing a dice game, if that makes sense.
I was going to say that it actually encourages you to put stuff in put units in a position to score secondary points later, or sorry, not secondary, primary points later on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other missions, you normally just don't. It's normally not worth the cost to throw an expensive unit onto the middle point, knowing that they're just going to die. And then what? You've thrown away a 200 or 300 point unit onto a point that's just, they have no way of surviving it.
Yep.
And that has always been something that has bothered me. And I don't really know how you would go about encouraging it other than just making primary score less. Oh, and let me touch on Purge the Foe real quick. If you go first on Purge the Foe, you are at such a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's really bad because
it's really bad.
Because I love Purge the Foe, but like I don't even begin to understand how you could fix it in its current iteration.
You have to completely like redo it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them, you shouldn't score points for holding your home for that mission.
Yeah.
And
You should score extra for holding the opponent's home.
yeah, that's fine. I firmly agree with that. But purge is a problem because if you go first and your opponent has properly deployed, as in you're not going to be able to get shots on anything, if you push out to take ground, right? Or if you get a secondary, such as established locus, that you're not going to be able to get unless you get something in the center, or secure no man's land, that you could get the small version, but you're leaving extra points on the table if you don't take the big version, and all this other stuff. If you draw secondaries that require you to go out and expose a unit, or if you don't even go out and expose a unit, then you're not really scoring. You're not really playing the game, but also you kind of open your opponent up to score. What's it called? To score like hold more, like on their second turn. Because if you don't get up and like actually take areas, and now I know that you could do it in turn 2 or whatever, but it makes it harder. You put yourself at a big disadvantage if you're just kind of like castling up in a mission that doesn't really reward holding a ton of primary. And your opponent, if they get really aggressive, it can help you. But if they're smart, they're just not going to. And you're just both just are going to sit there like a guy did not do a whole lot. But if you get, the point I'm trying to get at is if you get a secondary mission that requires you to go into the center or expose units, and your opponent kills that one unit, they're just immediately up. And then, if they're going to be up those 4 points for the entirety of the game, you have to do something to score more points, which is probably going to be kill more, but it's so much easier going second to be able to like target prioritize, right?
Yeah.
And that is a massive problem. And so purge is an interesting issue. I mean, the way I would fix it is that I would pretty much just have it. I would have it where you just get a certain amount of points for every unit you kill. There's no, like, if you kill one, you get 4, you kill more, you get 8 or whatever. I would just have it like every unit is like 1 point or like 2 points.
Yeah. And like maybe the warlord is worth more too.
Yeah, our characters, and that's what I would do.
Today we will talk about secondaries. Looks inside primary.
Yeah, but it's funny enough that is actually how this works. But yeah, I don't like the hold more. I like the hold more as a concept. I also think a lot of these missions suffer from the fact that having only 3 objective markers in no man's land actually kind of sucks. I don't like hidden supplies because you have to like player place the the objective markers, and that's annoying, especially if you set up your terrain.
Oh my god!
Like you have to set up the terrain, or you have to put the objective markers before you set up the terrain, and that's just annoying. I do think there should be 4 objective markers in the center, and you shouldn't really score points for holding your primary and your home. Or if you do, it should be like 1.
My thoughts on that is I would have to see this theoretical primary new mission pack that we would make to confirm or deny that. I think as the game is now, the reason that there's 3 is to create that like sense of each one of us gets a guaranteed objective. Like that's just how the game is right now. If we just make another one for each of us, then it's just going to be we both get 2 guaranteed objectives and we'll just like poke at each other.
Yeah. That is something I've thought about, but I think some of the best games I've played is when I've had 4 objective markers in the middle, to be honest. I mean, it's like, I know you have to place them, but even if you make them, I think you just have to make them a little more exposed potentially.
Okay, I can see that.
And make them actually like kind of have to fight more. It would be really funny if it's like on on things like oh gosh, what's the deployment, like Tipping Point or something, where you deploy on
point.
Or am I thinking of sweeping engagement? What's the
Uh
one where it's like the short table edges where you have like the weirdo two rectangles?
oh. I know what you're talking about. It's
That's
hamburger, not
tipping
hot
point.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's no, that is no, that's the one that is sweeping engagement. I think tipping point is oh wait, when you mean hot dog, I'm talking like you deploy on the short table edges.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like you're farther from each other.
Yes.
It's better for
I
shooting
think it'd be
armies.
really funny if you just put all the 4 objective markers in a line in the middle.
Where it's just completely
Well, I mean, that's where you have to have dense terrain because then it wouldn't be so bad.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, I really do think they got to have for primary objectives. I just don't think it's right to have over half of your missions basically be able to score 80% of your points by only touching 2.
By
I just
little to no conflict.
there's you just sit there. I
Yeah.
mean, me and my buddy play, and we're just like in this thrilling match of Pariah Nexus.
I'll
We're
put
both just
a
gonna sit.
50-point unit on my home objective, and the other half of that same unit that's split on the other objective, and then the rest of my army plays the game.
Yeah, and every time I get something that requires me to go out in the center, I'm going to throw the cheapest unit I possibly have into it.
Or the most durable thing in the world, like where it's just not even worth it to shoot it.
Yeah, or I'm gonna throw my 20 Necron warriors that would have like a 5-up feel no pain and
Yeah.
resurrect twice in Awakened Dynasty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, all right, we've talked about primary now. Let's attempt to not clickbait people. What is your secondaries? Let's go into that.
Funny enough, I actually have more secondary solutions rather than I just kind of talked about the problems for primary, which is just you score too much of it and it needs to be harder. But I actually think the biggest issue in the game is secondaries. Primary is whatever. They do it to make it so the games look like they're close. It's like, oh, dude, I won. It was 86 to,
83 to 82.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, but we both maxed primary, and it was just a secondary game. Secondaries are basically, in my opinion, kind of the whole name of the game, which that's fine. I think it's fine, but I think there's too much chance.
Okay.
Do you know, I've lost games, and I truly mean this, and you could say, oh, get good or whatever, but I've lost games because I've drawn dead secondaries like 2 rounds, like round 1, round 2, completely dead secondaries.
You get, like, storm hostile objective, turn 1, and then behind enemy lines.
So you can recycle that one. So you can recycle that, but there was a time where it's like I drew Purge, no prisoners, sorry. I drew no prisoners. Yep. I fucking remember this game. I drew no prisoners, marked for death turn 1.
Yep.
Second draw, it was behind enemy lines and assassinate. And my opponent had 1 character.
Yep.
And they were playing sisters. It just had the entire backfield like screened out. Yep. I'm like, okay, so I'm literally scoring nothing.
Yep.
For the turns 1 and 2, and then he got like extend and establish locust, and then got like area denial. It was like, okay, and I purely lost because of that. Because
it's essentially a 20-point deficit at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like the amount of points you could get by that, but it's double-digit deficit, and
in
you
my
could
brain,
argue that.
I think I roughly equate every secondary to around 5 VP. That is the math in my brain. That's what I would consider a secondary to be, like 4 to 5 VP.
Yeah, you also got the 6 ones. Like containment is such an easy mission to get 6, which is dumb. Anyways, that's not even neither here nor there. So I think there is too much randomization because I've purely lost games because of it, and I purely won games because I drew lucky. And this was a problem with Leviathan, and they actually fixed it with it was take the opponent's home field objective. It was worth like 8.
Yeah.
Wasn't it worth? It was worth a lot. Was it 8
so
points?
So much. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That was actually kind of awesome. I kind of loved it.
It was sick.
It sucked if you didn't get it, and that's the point I'm trying to get at. So the current setup is there are 18 missions. I'm assuming you're not playing Fixed, because Fixed in my mind doesn't exist.
Fixed is for Awakened Dynasty Necron players.
There you go. Isn't that who you lost to in Nova? Or was it was it Awakened Dynasty, or was it
the teleporting whatchamacallit?
Oh gosh.
What are the
Hypercrypt.
Hypercrypt. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, that Fixed is for Hypercrypt Necrons.
There you go. But so there's 18 missions, and every turn you draw 2 at the start of your battle command phase, and you have the ability to spend a CP to discard 1 and then get a new card. Right. So if you're playing an army such as Ultramarines, and you have essentially infinite CP because you're going to be getting extra from, some way to generate more.
Also, really
that puts you at an immediate advantage.
We should clarify terms very quickly. CP are command points, which you use for stratagems, variety of things within the game, so you can somewhat turn secondaries into a resource that you can use for your army. VP is victory points. That's the score. That's what decides if you win or lose, etc.
Are we going to put that in the beginning of the video? Probably.
Hey, editor, you let me know.
yeah, you let us know what we do. But if you're an army that can generate a lot of CP, and you draw dead, you have a decent chance to just discard them and get a new card that's going to be better for you, and you can use a CP. Calgar, Ethereals, Grots. Do Battle Sisters do that?
Yeah. So.
Are they Miracle Dice generation? I don't remember.
So I don't. There's one character that can, but I don't think it's meta. So no.
We'll put a pin in it and circle it maybe.
Yeah.
So I actually think the missions and drawing is fun. I mentioned that at the beginning. I actually like that a lot more than picking the 3 things you're going to do and just doing them. Mm-hmm. But I think it needs a change. I don't like the randomness involved in it. And I know it's supposed to make the game as even as possible. But you can just lose because of it, which sucks. Mm-hmm. And your opponent or you could win just because of it. And that also kind of sucks.
I also think there is an argument to be made that the randomness is in the dice. We don't need it to be for our missions as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So I kind of want to combine the two systems of 9th and 8th, where you basically picked your secondaries and your opponent knew what your secondaries were going to be, and then you did those secondaries, right? But that was for the whole game. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what Fixed is currently. Mm-hmm. So first thing I do is just get rid of Fixed secondaries. You're not doing them.
Yes.
I think it's boring.
It's so boring.
I think you just play a game against yourself, essentially.
Behind enemy lines, deploy teleport homers, or whatever the new one is.
Cleanse.
Boring. Yes. Okay, I agree. Yeah, no more Fixed.
But just get rid of that.
Yeah.
And I would make it so in the new mission pack, there's 18 secondaries. I will keep the 18 secondaries. But for each mission within the secondary pack, right? So how many missions do you have? You have 6 primary? 7? It's 8. What am I saying? It's 8. You just don't play 3 of them.
Yeah.
You just don't play supply drop and unexploded ordnance, or servo skull, or whatever it's called now.
Oh, the new version of servo skull.
Yeah. So I would keep that all the same. Some of these missions aren't going to be for competitive play. Some of them are just going to be for fun, but whatever, you can still do this system for that. And then for each of those missions, there are 12 secondaries that are chosen by Games Workshop, and they are active for the game, right?
Okay.
So you go into Purge the Foe, we'll say, and they will list out 12 secondary missions that both players are please remove these from your deck. These are the 12 secondaries you're using.
Okay.
And so at the start of each battle round, what then you would then do is select 2 of these cards. You get to pick what these cards are, mm-hmm. and you select 2 of them and put them face down, right?
Okay.
And you, the person going second and the person going first, both do this. And
so it's
essentially
per battle round, not
per battle round.
Phase? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So you reveal them in your command phase, right?
Okay.
So the player going first can reveal like his 2 that they're doing, and then the player going second reveals the 2 that they picked.
Okay.
And then those are your cards that you're doing for that round. And they would still have the same stipulations of like can't be done turn 1, like you can't pick this to be done turn 1.
Right.
And you can still do the same thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to pick, like if you're, let's say you're going second and you're like, I'm going to pick this, or you're going first and you needed a good advance roll or something. You're like, oh, I'm actually not going to be able to do this mission or this secondary that I picked because of something that happened that my opponent like did, right? You can still discard it for a CP if you want.
Okay.
Now, this is one that I don't know if it's a popular one.
Okay.
I think you should be able to still do new orders for 2 command points and discard one of yours and pick a new card. It's basically pick a card that you can guarantee do for 2 command points, and then you do it once per game.
So,
and then that's it.
My kind of note on that is that it's kind of just a punishment for the player that goes second.
So why do you say that?
Because if you go first, you can pick it like first in the battle round. You pick your cards, and your opponent can't really stop you.
That's why I was like, the reason why you're doing that, it's not a punishment for the person going second. It's actually a benefit for the person going second, right?
Okay.
Because your opponent who's going first can't really use that properly. Because in theory, you're going to pick cards you think you're going to be able to do, right?
Oh. Okay. So because first player can't use it. So because second player can use it, they pay 2 CP. Okay. All right.
No, you both can use it. I just don't know why you would if you're going first.
That's what I'm saying. Like going first player doesn't really have a reason to use it. So you're better off just like, how do I say? You're better off just like essentially you get to save CP to redraw second if something the first player does throws you off. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of your reaction to what someone else does.
Okay.
And like I said, I just make it once per game.
Once per game?
Yeah.
I think that ruling specifically could use some workshopping and some playtesting, but I think in general I like the idea of player 2 having a way of being able to adapt to player 1 doing something, because if you have to pick it at the beginning of the battle, like the battle round, I think yeah, I think in general I can agree with that. I think that's a good idea.
And one of the things I was going to mention about it is I thought a lot about that because I'm trying to think of ways that the first player doesn't just have super big advantage here. Because it's like you're going to be able to do stuff every turn versus your opponent is not going to be able to necessarily do that. So that's why I think,
I think another thing that should be done to secondaries, every single one of them, they have to make it to the your next command phase in order for it to happen. No more finishes in your shooting phase. Like, you have to...
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, I don't like that you could go up and, what's it called? Establish beacon. Like, you drop your one model in your back of your enemy's deployment and you get behind enemy lines and then establish Homer or whatever.
I think like storm hostile objective, sure, that's that. But sabotage, I don't know if sabotage does it already. I'm pretty sure it finishes.
It does. It ends. The cleanse doesn't. Cleanse doesn't. Establish Homer
Recover.
Doesn't. Establish beacon. Recover also actually does end at your start of your next command phase. So the 2 that do it at the start of your next command phase is what's it called?
Recover and sabotage.
Yes, sabotage and recover, but containment, cleanse, and establish Homer or teleport Homer, beacon, whatever. That's done immediately.
Yeah, I think almost all of the secondaries should be extended to have to all of them make it to the next player's command phase. Because if we're going for a more interactive game, like if we're We're throwing the 10th edition less killy out the window. We don't care about that anymore.
Dude, it's so much more
We
killy.
want blood, guts, and galore. So I think also forcing people to have actions happen and then people being like, okay, I have to stop that action is a lot more, because you can do the action still in pretty safe spots. Now it's just a matter of what does it cost you to get out there.
Are you willing to like overextend to stop it?
Yes, and I think that creates a lot more good ideas, because let's say you're only really able to do it with a charging unit. Okay, you have to roll the charge roll. Like, I think that creates a lot more and ifs or buts. Like, do you use your super tanky unit and not shoot but guarantee points? Because like right now it's just like, I'm not going to use my land fort to do an action. I'm not going to use my terminators to do an action. I'm going to use bikes. I'm going to use Jaegers, and I'm going to use half a unit of my Hearthkin. I'm going to use gaunts. I'm going to use neuro gaunts. I'm going to use leapers or something. Like, you're picking cheap units that have no survivability because the action's done immediately. I think...
And you know, this actually does help with my whole new orders thing, because if you, like, let's say you got containment, right? And you're doing it, and your opponent's like, oh, I'm going to YOLO this Armiger completely out in the open in hopes I stop it. And they do, let's just say they stop it. They're like, oh, they just put this Armiger out in the middle, but now I have this card that I can't get rid of. I can spend 2 CP. Bang, guess what? Now I've got bring it down.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of helps you react. Or in the exact opposite, if you're going second, you're like, okay, I'm going to pick an action that I don't think I'm going to actually be able to do in the hopes that someone comes out to, like, I'm going to put it in such a way that they can overextend if they want to get it.
I'm specifically doing this action knowing that I will not get it to kill something else important.
Yes.
I like that. Okay. Yes, I'm sold. All right, I'm sold. This is a better secondary system. It requires more proactive thinking. It's not just, I'm going to do my own thing and then shoot at you when it's convenient.
So another thing that I would do, and so remember how I said that at the beginning, there's going to be 12 secondaries for each mission, right? You might actually have to add more missions into the mission pack, but that's because I'll explain. No, actually, no, you wouldn't, because this would be, it's already split into 18. Never mind. So I would split the secondaries into 3 specific categories. You know how we have categories for stratagems and they literally mean nothing?
Yeah.
They used to, right? With battle tactics.
Battle tactics, baby.
Don't mean anything.
Nope.
I would actually split the missions into 3 separate categories, and each mission pack has 6 of each.
Okay.
Right? I'd actually have to go through and see what the breakdown is, like, within the mission packs themselves, because I might have to change some things around. But it might actually be 6 per each. So I have placeholder names in here.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I was trying to think of 40K words to think of, but it's like, I got Battlefield.
New vocab at the beginning.
And that was the whole point. See, now we're
full circle.
That's what they call foreshadowing. So I just put Battlefield Supremacy, and I literally just picked Purge the Foe because I want that mission to go away completely.
Yeah.
And then I have another one called Tactical Acumen. And the breakdown of these is that Battlefield Supremacy are going to be all those missions that require you to go out and be in a part of the board. So extend battle lines, storm hostile objective, secure no man's land, engage on all fronts, right? Area denial. Those are all missions that require you to be somewhere on the table, right? Purge the foe. You got missions like, or secondary missions like no prisoners, cull the horde, overwhelming force, assassination, and mark for death and bring it down.
Okay.
Right? And then you have tactical acumen, which would be all of your actions, quote unquote, missions. So it's going to be like deploy Homer, sabotage, containment, cleanse, and recover. Did I already say recover assets?
I don't think so.
Recover assets, right?
Cut it out if you said it twice.
Yeah, cut it out if I said it twice. Don't make me look dumb. And so what I would do is
say, make me look dumb.
Make me look dumb. That's right.
Cut it out if you said it twice.
Yeah, cut it out if I said it twice. Make me look dumb. So you split it up into each mission's going to have like 4 specific things or 4 specific missions in each of the packs. Now, I think you'd have to obviously change them around a bit. Like you can't have the missions as is work in this system. You'd have to change the secondary missions up, of course. And what I would then do is you'd have a breakdown of secondary scoring in general. Right now it's 50-40, right? You can score 50 primary, 40 secondary.
Right.
You'd have the same thing. You can only score 40 primary or secondary, sorry. And each of those missions, like each of those 3 categories, you can only score 15 points from each category.
Ooh, okay.
So you have to do all 3.
Okay.
You have to at least do and they could all be worth like 5 points or whatever. You could make it worth more if you do containment for 3 or whatever. I don't think
demands that you make a balanced army.
Yeah, you have to do more than 2 if you want to max out scoring. If you want to score more than 90 points, which some people may be, or no, yeah, because 90 with the whole points, which some people are probably fine with. You have to do more.
Yeah.
Than just, killing and then the other ones, right?
Yeah. I think I love that, actually.
Because to me, it just seems weird that you could go an entire game. Let's say you're playing against. This has happened to me. I've played against Imperial Knights and just never drew Bring It Down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Like, instead of getting, oh boy, in this turn that I killed the whatever it's called, the
Armiger,
the Knight Castigator or whatever,
Caiaphas
Knight
Cain,
Lancer,
whatever his name is.
Yeah, Caiaphas Cain. Yeah, the mighty Knight Lord Caiaphas Cain.
Whoops. What's the Canis Rex? That's the loser.
Canis Rex.
That's the loser.
You have to kill Sir Hector as well.
Not for Bring It Down. For Bring It Down.
Not for Bring It Down, but for Assassinate.
You got to kill the little goober that falls out.
Yeah.
Because they thought that through.
Well, he could die technically in the explosion, which is hilarious as well.
He can die.
But anyways, yeah. But I think that combined with I'd have to redesign the primary missions, but I kind of like Linchpin, where you can only score 32 out of 50 primary. That's like, a little bit more than half of your total primary you can get. But then if you score, 2 rounds of holding your whole primary, that's like it's going to be like 42 out of 50. I think that's like pretty fine, because I think it's like 13 13 8 8, which would be 26 plus 16. Yeah, it would be like 42.
Would you consider making it so that way primary is actually somewhat less valuable? Like, let's say...
No, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Like 30-60. Like 30 points max for primary, 60 points max for secondary.
No, because then I would worry that you could make it 45-45.
Okay.
And then if you want to max out secondary points, you'd have to do essentially you'd have to max the scoring from each thing, like Battlefield Supremacy, Purge the Foe, and from the 3 subsections. That is something I've thought about. I haven't thought about it in enough detail, in my mind, to kind of work it out yet. But I don't hate that idea. I think it'd be actually pretty interesting, but then it kind of feels weird that you have primary and secondary. You would think primary you have to score more. And I would worry that if you make it have primary not be as much, it would kind of have the same problem of not interacting with each other.
I see. You wouldn't care about objectives, you just run at each other.
Yeah, because right now you score... On a lot of the missions, you score 40 plus primary points for doing nothing already.
Yeah.
So if you score your 40 primary points, you score your 40 secondary points, then, you're kind of in the same thing.
Okay.
And that might even mean making it primary worth more potentially to force people to go out and actually interact with each other. But I don't think that I would do that either. But that's kind of my idea. I think it would work. I mean, you'd have to work on the missions.
It would be a new mission pack.
It would be a new mission pack. My only concern would be, how do you pick which missions are going to go in which mission type?
I mean, it could be an arbitrary thing at this point. We've done plenty of technical work. Now let's just bring it back to classic roots of, let's say they keep Purge the Foe, because of course they keep Purge the Foe. You can't take Purge, Overwhelming Force, Assassination Marked for Death.
Well, I was gonna,
Linchpin, you don't take whatchamacallit. Um Battlefield Supremacy or something. I don't know. Like
or well, no. So no, you don't pick the secondaries. Games Workshop
that's
is
what I'm
picking the
saying. That's what I'm
secondaries.
saying.
Or what you could also do is you could essentially just reduce the amount that are going to be in each mission pack. Like if you have to do Purge the Foe anyways, then you could be the two missions that involve kill points. You could just literally call it kill points, or you could call it Exterminatus something.
Exterminatus objectives.
Yeah, something. And
Yeah, drop that. Hey,
where you
drop
only
that in
have
your
like
local. Drop that in your next work meeting. Some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Drop that. Write in the comments below how that went.
Yeah, and you could make it be like, oh, you're only taking 3 or 2 of these objectives, and then the other ones that are more objective based are getting 5 each instead of 4 each. But again, still the same like secondary points apply. At least like where you can only score like 15 for each of them. Because it kind of like you said, it helps not make a list designed to score,
Boring points. Yeah.
And not killing. Because I know that there's a lot of armies out there, and I know AdMech is like this, where you don't really kill things. You just kind of take over the board and move block. That sucks.
Imperial Agents, AdMech. Really just the awful forgotten armies this edition.
Yeah, I want to play a game of Warhammer and not kill stuff.
Yeah, I want to play a game of Warhammer and like, I actually don't really like rolling dice, so I'm just not gonna shoot at you. I'm just gonna, you can pick up my models, but I'm not gonna worry about picking up yours.
I want to play a game where I'm completely tabled at the end, but I win on points, and the opponent has half their army left. I
mean, that's fun, right? Like, isn't that so much fun?
It's so much fun. I don't know how I would change the I don't know how I would change primary scoring to kind of match up with this. But I think this would force interaction more. Also, it takes randomness out, and I know that a big reason why Games Workshop has the current game set up the way it's set up is they want to keep games close, and they want to keep they want to give people feel like they have a chance to win. And I would say in general they actually do that.
Yeah. But I would say also being able to pick your secondary also gives you this even greater sense of control.
Like, oh, absolutely.
Okay, let's say, all right,
Frost.
It's you and me playing. Me and you, we're pretty decent players.
Shout out.
Frost. Frost.
Editor, cover that up.
Frost.
All right.
Frost.
Me and you, we're playing a game. We're pretty decent players. My bad. We're pretty decent players. Let's say I'm doing sabotage on an objective, and you had a pretty good idea that I was going to put a sabotage unit on that objective. Like, it's my normal push. Me and you play against each other pretty frequently. You know my game plan. You could then pick overwhelming force and no prisoners and, like, have to go for that push and deny me secondary. And it's just, like, it creates this kind of, like, what do I think the other person will do? It, like, mind games...
It does create a mental game.
Yes.
It creates a mental game of, like, okay, I know they haven't selected these secondary missions. I see how they've moved.
I know
how
what they're
gunning
for.
For.
Yes.
What are they gunning for?
And, like, okay. I don't like it when games have... How do I phrase this? I don't like it when the high-tier players and the low-tier players are playing two different games. I don't like that. But this game, like, this version of secondaries kind of keeps it so that way low-tier players and high-tier players, the best swordsman in the world fears the worst swordsman because you can't mind game him. And
yeah. Actually, that's a super good point.
That's kind of like it still sticks around with this because it's like the high tier player's gonna be like, okay, they moved that there. Obviously, they're gonna prep for bring it down. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And the other person is just thinking, I want to cleanse with the land fort. Like, I need it to live. So they're going to move all of the things away from it that would have gotten it bring it down. And like that was never the other player's plan. Like, you can. I like it. I like it. I like it. I think I think it gives every single player more options. I think it creates more player agency, and I think it makes it so that way every single individual game holds more value. It's no longer, you didn't roll well. It's, okay, I picked this secondary. Why didn't I make it work? When would this secondary have worked better? Like, it feels like there's more lessons to learn.
There's certainly, and this goes without saying, there's a lot of games of 40K that I've looked at that I've lost, and it was because I made a bad decision based on the information that I had objectives or whatever. But I think it helps people plan out potentially, well, like you said, it helps people map out where mistakes made. It's like, oh, this turn 3 should not have picked this secondary mission.
Why did I pick Marked for Death when I could have done Cleanse? I had this objective and this objective safe, and he couldn't have moved forward without losing more than it would be worth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, it feels like there's better points of review.
Because I would love, and this has happened before, I would love playing Marked for Death late in a game when both opponents' armies are like really down. It's like, and it's like, okay, I can basically guarantee that 2 of these units are not going to die. Oh, God, where's the third one? Yeah. What's the third one I have to pick?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like, okay, obviously I pick my home field objective. I pick my artillery unit. And, like, from there it becomes, okay. I have to think. So, I love that. I think that's great. Yeah, I
also think primary should be scored at the bottom of your turn on round 5.
For both
That's
players?
another thing. For both players, yeah.
You know what? All right. Like and subscribe. Hit that like button. If we get 10,000 likes...
We're not going to, don't worry.
We're not going to. We're going to do it anyway. Just hit like and subscribe anyway, because I think, please. But, yeah, for secondaries and what we've really covered, with the problems with primary and then going into secondary, I think that we've made secondaries more fun. I am kind of like, okay, so, Frost, at a certain point, me and you, we need to like get together and be like, okay, how do these primaries work? And let's run up some games. Let's make our own mission pack, since GW hasn't given us one for over half a year.
So to summarize, we're going to put up on the screen the changes we would make to secondary missions for this new potential player pack. And then I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add, Smug?
This is pretty much it. Like, this is something that I want to try. This is something that I would love to see implemented in some way, shape, or form.
And leave it down in the comments if you agree, disagree, or any changes you would potentially make to primary or secondary missions. And we'll catch you next time.
All right. Have a good one.